Hello everybody, this video is pretty simple. It's called Inspired by Apple. I watched the WWDC conference today, the keynote. I woke up early just for it, and it was very impressive. There's a lot of things that can happen. The main thing, the simplicity of the Measure app, the main thing for this video, the simplicity of the Measure app brought about its own simplicity, and it's called the iMarker. Now Google get this idea, but I'm not dealing with Google anymore. They owe me basically a check at this point. I'll probably see them in court though, so yeah, expect a $100 million settlement with Google. Anyway, so with Apple, I thought of them using something called micro GPS, where it's GPS, but it's showing you where you are in a very zoomed in level, instead of relying on giant Earth capturing satellites that beam down information that you zoom in on. It's actually the idea of using a GPS while you're in a mall, for example. Yes, you could use a map, but you could use a GPS as well. The way to make it would be to have a secondary thing. I'd like to call it iMarker, and it was inspired by the measurement app, but the way it works is this: you set a marker point, you stand still, you open up the app, you tap, that sets a marker, you move. You can also set things like return to marker within 20 minutes. That's great if you're in a group of people, you all do this. It'll beep like 5 minutes before to get you to go to the marker point. You can also set a marker for your parking lot car. Your car in the parking lot. You can never lose your car this way because remember, it's micro GPS. It should be able to tell the difference between you're on the second floor or the third floor, in parking area 2B, etc., very easily, and it should be much faster than the regular GPS. How they make this, I'll leave that to them for now. I have to say that Kanye West in the background. Yay, go yay. Basically, you can also use it as, you can use the idea of micro GPS contained within iMarker, or iMarker contained within micro GPS, and I would call it the local map. That's what I would call it. If Apple made a new GPS thing, the local map, the local GPS, where you're not intending to fly across the country for a plane ticket, where you're not driving to a new place that you haven't been before, but where you are that is well known. And then the idea evolved, the marker idea evolved, where you could set markers that you edit that correspond to physical objects in the real world, and in this way it's like the Pokemon Go, the little artifact equivalents they have, where you go around the city, the town, etc., and then it's like, hey, here's a statue of Walt Disney. What happened to that company? They went for the money, they slit the throat of their best contributor. Now it's the Disney Money Company. So, I mean, that sort of thing you can definitely do. You can also build a community map, and that's another contender for the best name for it, either community map or local map. I would call it Mapper, honestly. I would call it Mapper, and it would have a 1 to 3, maybe even to a 5-mile radius, where you could perform searches for things like food only in that radius. Google Maps, that's doable with them. They already sort of do something like that, but not very well. The trick here is this, that understanding the local area, you can get a commission for sending people to certain restaurants. And the way to do that, this is where it got more complicated. The idea grew. The idea bloomed. Well, hopefully this is its early bloom, because I'm hoping for another bloom. It bloomed Foursquare. So Foursquare, working with Apple, they already have the different locations of stores mapped out. They already have metadata for stores, but it would be a smart enough GPS technology where instead of you're in a Starbucks, you can check into 10 or 20 places at once, you have to physically be in the store to check in. And you can call that premium check-in. And the way you make money is by getting people to go there for whatever reason. You get a commission from those people, even if it's 1%, that's still a good bit. eventually. I mean, if you think about all the people that'll be using it. So I'm a fan of calling it Mapper. Local Mapper, that works too. This has been the idea with many names. And really what I would do if I was Apple to capitalize on this technology, if they could do this technology, I believe they can. It's possible. I would do a stock exchange with Foursquare, who is terrible at making money, and no offense to them, but they have absence of direction. They're like Snapchat, except I actually found a way to monetize Foursquare just now in these 5, 6, 7 minutes. So Foursquare working with Apple engineers, that would be something too. I think it could benefit both parties. It's one of those what I call partnerships, where a company makes a handshake in the form of shares exchanged instead of money given. Like Apple could buy 10% of Foursquare for rock bottom prices in exchange for this idea, because I'm only selling this idea through Apple. I hold hope in all the companies in Apple, and hopefully this gets to them. If you know anybody at Apple, please forward them a link to this message. Have them contact me directly through YouTube or in any way where I actually respond. That's my idea.